Hello everyone and welcome to the Dyslexia Life Hack Show. I'm your host Matthew Head, and in this episode I want to talk about the Dyslexia Show 2024 with its founder Arran Smith. It's now in its third year and we're going to talk about what has changed for 2024 and what he's got in store for us. Arran is the first person to be on the podcast 3 times. We've done a show about him setting up the Dyslexia Show and his background with dyslexia, as well as what he learned from his first show into the second show. So I recommend you give them a listen. As always, I'll put links to the Dyslexia Show and other things we talk about in the show notes, which will be available at dyslexialifehacks.com/podcast. Welcome back, Arran.
Thank you very much, Matt.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I still can't believe it. I'm going to keep that claim to fame of being the guest that's only done 3 shows or done the third time back on it. It is. So it'll get a bit monotonous when we've got to Dyslexia Show 10 or something like that, and we've done 10 podcast recordings, and really we go probably when we get to show 5 we'll go, well actually we'll wait for another 5 shows before we do another podcast. That's probably the logical thing.
Yeah, or you send other members of your team along.
Well, yeah. You never know. That's the.
It could be a fun thing to do is edit the first 5 together, so we can hear A, how the show has grown, and B, how we've progressed as presenter and podcast guest along the way. But what I thought we'd start with really is the Dyslexia Show this year includes the Dyscalculia Show for 2024.
Correct.
Now, how did that start, and how does that kind of fit in with the Dyslexia Show?
Okay, so it probably started like Dyslexia Show 1. So when I say Dyslexia Show 1, because everyone to me says Dyslexia Show 1 was 2022. Well, actually, Dyslexia Show 1 to me was 2020 because it never happened because of the pandemic. So, but if we say the actual first live show, which was 2022, Kat Edor, who is one of the founders of the Dyscalculia Network, said to me, we need to have more Dyscalculia in the show. And I went, that's a very good point, we do. So going into year 2, we added more Dyscalculia in. And Dyscalculia is probably the research is about between 20 and 30 years behind dyslexia. It's about 4 to 6%. It's about 6% of the population that are affected by dyscalculia, and dyscalculia is substantially different to dyslexia in the sense that it's actually the full concept of number sense. So when I say number sense, this is things like that you have 4 fingers and you have 4 pencils. You don't equate that the 4 is the same. And and that's me being very simple. I'm not an expert in dyscalculia, but that's how I understand it. And now I'm just hoping that Kat and Rob don't tell me off for having that really bad explanation of it.
Well, they can come on and explain it themselves if they like.
That's a very good idea. But what happened then is that then second year we said the same thing. Now I have a lot of time for Kat and Rob. They've created this organization called the Dyscalculia Network. They have done it on the back of their own blood, sweat and tears. They are supported by some amazing professionals, including myself as a supporter. And they needed a little bit of IT management support. So some of you may be aware that I know the podcast here is sponsored by Neurobox, and I've been on the odd occasion a presenter for Neurobox on their digital events we did over COVID. So the Dyscalculia Network knew they'd done this kind of concept before. So they asked me to manage their Dyscalculia Day, which was on the 4th of March last year, and theoretically is on the 4th of March again, or on the 5th of March this year. It's to say it's the first Monday in March. And so at that event, we went through a day of doing an education talk, a parents talk, and then we did an adult talk in the evening. And at that talk, I kind of joined in and talking about the concepts of neurodiversity. And it was kind of a very open forum and conversation with some 2 or 3 professionals, Kat and Rob, and 4 adults. And that's where they were like going, well, we should have the Dyscalculia Show. So I basically went, well, we're going to do it then. I'm going to put it down on this recording that we will create the Dyscalculia Show in 2024. And that's where it came from. So basically, the idea came that we would run it as, so it's kind of a zone within the Dyslexia Show, but we've run it as a separate event. So it's in the same hall. It's just got its own kind of identity. So it's its own identity as the Dyscalculia Show. It has its own different coloured carpet. So if you've been to the Dyslexia before, it's not pink, it's plum. Their carpet's plum. So it's a little bit different to just sort of mellow it up a bit. And for those listeners out there, we've taken the feedback. We're now, all of our stand carpet is now grey, so it's not full pink. It's just just the gangways are pink. You can kind of insight that in a second, Matt. I know it was with a question, but and that's where it came from. And the idea is that we know that dyscalculia is an area that needs a lot of support. We know there's a lot of people out there that need the support, and that's why we created it. And we've got about 7 or 8 exhibitors that are specifically looking at maths and maths anxiety, maths products and services, and they are kind of close to dyscalculia. A few of them are kind of on the corners, and it's really good to see how people are supporting it. So for me, it's been an amazing opportunity to kind of take that concept and grow with it. And it's brilliant. We've got a theatre with 11 dedicated dyscalculia talks. So that's the biggest thing, is that there is 11 talks over the 2 days that are dedicated to dyscalculia, and they're anything from high academic research, and I'm going to say high academic. That's probably not fair on Brian. So Professor Brian Butterworth is doing a talk around his research he did over the past 30 years of his life of being in this field of dyscalculia. And then you've got people like Judy Hornigold, you've got Pete Jarrett, and then you've got the adult group. So Pete and Emily, and hopefully that's her name's correct. I'm now going to panic, and I'll have to go and search it out in a second. But they're doing a talk on the Friday about their lived experience, and that's the thing. So basically, it's got this mixture of all. So dyscalculia is like, the logic behind it was to bring it all together into one theatre, and that's the thing. It's evolved around this one theatre. These 10 exhibition stands that are all about dyscalculia and maths difficulties and maths resources, and then of course you'll find other people within the show that have that. So you've got all the kind of the rest of the Dyslexia Show concept that also will cover dyscalculia as well. So it was just a logical thing to do. To kind of build up this neurodiverse community concepts around what we used to call the co-occurring and very, when I was a lot younger, comorbidity, which I don't like that word, but it's a clinical word. It's very much, if you read things like the DSM-5, the DSM-4, it's written in them. But for me, it was always this concept of co-occurring, of how dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, ADHD, dysgraphia all kind of interlink in that kind of in the circles of everybody that has these neurodiverse conditions, and that's why I kind of created it. And that to me it's a logical concept. It was to grow the show in that way and have that area, and yeah, we've learned a lot from it. It's still growing. That's still very new, but actually for me, it's been an amazing concept.
Yeah, and well, I assume most listeners of the podcast and quite a lot of people stumbling through the doors of the Dyslexia Show. I don't know why they'd be stumbling, but they might be.
Depends what they've been doing the night before.
Well, I was going to say, yeah. There's a few bars in the NEC, I think.
Yeah,
that coffee's strong. If you're a dyslexic person and think, well, what's the dyscalculia about? What kind of experience would you expect from that? Would you expect dyslexic people to come and look in the show?
Well, they're in the same place. That the thing. What it is actually when you logically look at it, it is literally, we are in the same hall we've always been in. All we've done is we've taken an area and basically changed the carpet colour, and have kind of said that's the Dyscalculia Show. So. And that makes it more logical for for people to go to it, and the idea is that you can go from either or. There's no kind of barrier between all. It's just a different coloured carpet, and that's the whole point of it. Is you can still walk around. So I think if you were dyslexic and you wanted to know, and you may not know actually that you may go, I don't think I'm dyscalculia, but I do have problems with maths, and I'm going to go and see flexi tables, or you go, actually, you know what, I have an issue with that I want to know a bit more about some software that works for maths, and I'm going to go and see NTTC, or I want to know about what Dyscalculia is. So I'm going to go and talk to the Dyscalculia network, and there's these companies that are there that are offering services. Easy Time Teach is an amazing company that are coming, and they've got their watches and their clocks, which is just brilliant. So that to me is the whole point, is kind of trying to put them all in one place and kind of have them a bit more kind of structured in a zone, and that's how we do it. So many years ago, there used to be an event at the same time as Dyslexia Show. It's not there anymore. And when I was 17, that was my first kind of impact into the exhibition world, when I was a volunteer for the British Dyslexia Association. And I used to go to this event, and they were all zoned, and they were all different coloured carpets. And that's how I always wanted it to be. The Dyslexia Show was always the idea of that, maybe in the future to do that, trying to zone it. Now with dyslexia, you can't really do that unless you do dyslexia, dyscalculia, ADHD, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, which you never know, in the future we might get to that, but it's easier to demify it with education, parents, individual, workplace, and then dyscalculia.
Yes. And, the visual guidance to the show with the different colour carpets, it's always useful when people do that various things.
Yeah. That was the whole thing for me is that it had to have the similar feel to Dyslexia Show, but had to be a little bit different.
Yeah,
and that's why basically the Dyslexia Show goes pink to purple, and in the sense of the logo does.
Yes,
Dyscalculia goes purple to pink.
Does it? I hadn't noticed that subtle nuance. I've seen it, and obviously Dyscalculia being a lot longer word gives you a stretch logo.
That's it.
Give you a logo design to work out. So seeing as we're on zones and colours, and you alluded to this earlier, and I'd be remiss to ask that you're, if nobody's been to Dyslexia Show, the carpet is always this bright highlight of pink, which I think Arran's particularly fond of. But you said there was some feedback from last year, and now the stools have got grey underneath their feet.
Yes, right.
Pink through the middle.
Well, as you remember, I wear a very loud shirt.
Yes,
I do.
Yes.
I do. To basically make me stand out from the carpet. No, the thing what it was for me is that you've got to kind of carry on, and this is actually an interesting thing. So when you run a business and you do certain things, so you do things like trademarks are kind of a prime example. So I trademarked the Dyslexia Show logo, which my designer really hates, by the way. So Matthew, who does our keynote, he's our compere for our keynote, and he does all of our brand design. And he's really he's worked in the dyslexia world. He's worked in a dyslexia specialist school, so he understands this concept of dyslexia. So that really helps. But he doesn't like it because he can't change the logo very much. He can do little nuances, but he can't change it because of the trademark. And the trademark is that it has a pink background to a white D, and that's why we won the trademark. So you can't. So if I'd called it the dyslexia elephant,
yes,
it may have got through the first round of trademark. Because I use the word show. Show is a word that you can't trademark because it's a word that everyone uses.
Yes,
but because of the way of the design of the logo with the D in the background to make it so it's dyslexia, actually the word show doesn't get involved in that conversation. So the pink concept is quite important because that's what got me through this whole concept of working through building a company up. And actually that's the thing. So the pink is very important to me because of that, because I quite like that colour. And that's the thing. And the thing is yes, it is a bit overstimulated. So and the difference is the other difference that will be this year is, so last year we had grey stands. This year we've got black stands.
Oh, nice.
So we've got different stands so the stand builder's a different stand builder. So it's going to look a lot different than last year with this grey carpet underneath all the stands as well. So we're kind of it's a movement that we do for kind of the concepts of any event. That you kind of move forward to kind of go, okay, what are we going to do next? And that's where things kind of move really well, because it is, for us, it's all about kind of carrying on with that brand and carrying on that concept that actually Dyslexia Show is pink, and it just help a lot of dyslexics it is. So that's why. So yeah, changing some nuances around is quite important for us. So that was one of the things that we did.
So that's quite handy, isn't it? Because the pink always pulls you to a walkway now. But what was the specific feedback that made you flip through?
It was just basically it was basically people just said it was a bit overstimulating. And the thing what it is that even for me it's overstimulating. Now I love it to bits. I have a roll of it in my garden, so I love it quite a lot. It's a good weed killer. Sorry, that's another.
I could just imagine this bright pink grass with this pink carpet.
It's not very pink now, but yeah, it was a very useful tool to stop weeds growing.
Yes,
that's the thing. But no, it is. You've got to kind of follow this concept, and this is where you have this conversation a lot with people about fonts, around branding, around dyslexia friendliness, and also about how you advertise stuff. And this is the thing that what we've done over the past. So going, like I think I said it in the last podcast. So we were like the UK's, and I can't actually remember what I used to say because I'm so now stuck on the UK's leading exhibition, because we are the most leading exhibition in the field of dyslexia, dyscalculia, and neurodiversity. Because there's nothing like it. There's lots of shows that support many people, and they're brilliant events. But we have to kind of strive ourselves as being that leading event, and actually that has been the benefit and probably the detriment in one sense, because and I say that in the logical way, because actually this year the show is going to feel a lot wider, and that sounds a bit weird. So all of our gangways have had to be bigger because we have a lot of parents come to the event. So we've now a consumer show, and certain rules in exhibitions, you've got to have more space. So
I see. Okay.
So actually it's going to look a lot wider, and there is more exhibitors. There's a lot more exhibitors than there has been.
Oh, nice.
So that's the thing. So, and there's changes. There's certain companies that aren't there. There's certain companies that are there. Some companies have changed their position. Some companies are bigger. Some companies are smaller. And it is quite cool. It is. It's really quite good. And I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. It's still like as we record the podcast, we're 4 weeks out.
Yes. And as people listen to it, we'll be more or less on top of it. So yeah, it's really interesting. The branding thing is kind of an interesting thing. I'm always thinking about it when I update pages and stuff on the website. Like, how do you make it? I always have the BDA guidance up on one screen, and it's like, how do you make something accessible for dyslexics, because that's the audience, same as you. And that style, that design choice between making it accessible but making it interesting and pulling people through, it's that kind of balance between the two, isn't it?
And that's the thing. So like for me, so we kind of, if anyone looks at the Dyslexia Show website, we use a font called Poppins, and Poppins has proper A's and proper G's in, and it can be a bit striking sometimes. I'm looking at our website now, and like under the word empower, actually text is grey, not black. But also the biggest thing for me is the pictorial concept. So when you look at the word education, we have an education hat that you would wear at a graduation. The picture of parents has a bigger person and a smaller person. Workplace has a desk with a lamp on it. Individual has as an individual person. And that is kind of very much important for me. Now, this year we've been very much around the pictorial approach. So every bit of marketing that has gone out via email has very much kind of driven that concept around pictorial approaches. For me, it's kind of identifying, indicating that, okay, if I'm talking about developing your knowledge, the word knowledge is the word I need to find. So that could be a picture of an icon of a person's head with lots of information coming out of it, because to make it a bit more pictorial. And the other thing that I did is when I wrote the content for the show and the website. So I redid, and this is the comparison between last year's event, because I can't remember, when did we record the second podcast?
Yeah, it'd been about similar times, so sort of probably early February, because I think we had to get it out sort of a month before the show at that time.
So with life-changing experiences, as lots of people know I had, actually, this year I went and I took a different approach to the show, and I wanted to kind of refocus the marketing concept of the show, and with the support of my team, we did that. And that was the concept, is that if anyone looks at it, you'll find that it's very statement driven. So it's very much statement driven. So it's kind of like when we look at the homepage, it kind of is provide and empower, a primary event, I can't even read my own text. The primary aim of the Dyslexia Show is to empower and provide understanding for those with dyslexia and neurodiversity to strive and foster a deep insight into the values of ways within education, parents, the workplace, and individuals themselves can support and have awareness. Now, the idea of that is that it's only 3 sentences. It's a very profound statement. And actually, one thing that I found was when I wrote all this, artificial intelligence was very beneficial. And I'm very open about this. I'm very open that the whole of Dyslexia Show website was me spending a lot of time refining what I'd already dictated, and kind of not relying on me going, here's some text, and then waiting for 3 or 4 people to edit it and kind of change a few words, and then me going, that's not actually what I said, where it gives me that time. And actually, as a recording of this podcast, that is the talk I'm going to be giving at one point at Dyslexia Show. That may change, of course, because we're waiting to hear back from other people. But for me, it's quite important. And it's also down to that concept of just trying to give people the right amount of information at the right time, and having a structure. So every demographic is very similar in that sense. So it has more information about. It may have more information, like an education about a collaborative gathering, and parents maybe about the support for families. But the idea is that we're very key in the target audience we're there for. And actually, that's proven very well when it comes to when we look at our registration numbers and how in the growth of the show, we had just under 3,000 people attend last year.
Okay.
And we had just over that number registered. Now we're 800 people past that number as of today, of a registration number.
Oh, wow.
Right. Now that doesn't sound, it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but of course it could be that because remember that majority of the show is free to attend. So if you're going to anything but workplace, you can register for free. And some people don't always turn up. You always have that people that won't turn up, people that basically can't turn up. They register, they think they might be able to go because they register early, and then they go, actually, know what, other commitments, which is perfectly fine. So you kind of have to take that as a pre-reg number. But when you look at that and the growth of it, it's actually quite beneficial to see. So yeah, I'm very happy with that concept, and that's hopefully we will hit. We're very close to hitting the 4,000 reg mark, and hopefully we'll get that 4,000 people attend.
Wow, it's going to be busy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of the show. The whole thing is that actually, if we can have that many people over the 2 days, that's a really good. That's again, it's a 33% increase on last year's show, and that's and maybe not. We may not. 20% would be quite good, because that's what we had last year. From year one, we had a 20% increase. So the 20% increase is what we would love to have this year, because that's what's beneficial. It makes an established event. But also, one of the things that this year has kind of really done for me is that level of community.
Yeah.
It is a community concept. I read a LinkedIn post today from a lady that attended the show last year, listened to a number of talks, inspired her to start her own business. She's gone 11 months into her business, and she's exhibiting a Dyslexia Show.
Oh, wow. That's
and
cool.
And that to me is like, that's a bit. Whoa, that's big. That's the thing. My wife had to laugh at the picture she used. The picture she used was The Greatest Showman. I had a number of comments on that when I shared it to try and get the main character from The Greatest Showman to the event, mainly from a few of my female friends, and I'm like, that's a bit worrying. But I'm not. I don't know. You can try, but the point is that
So
actually,
do you have a neurodiversity angle with that particular?
I don't know. I could try. I could have a look. But for me, it is about that we just need to grow, and we need to be part of that community. And that's actually comes down to the big point is that actually without the community, so without them exhibitors, we wouldn't have a show. And without the delegates, we wouldn't have a show.
Yeah.
And yes, I am creating an event for other people, and we want to kind of grow it. And what some people don't remember and people don't realize, it is me. The show is just me. Yes, I have a team of people. Everyone is a contractor. Everyone comes and goes when they need to. And they are all amazing people. But it is me that's driving this event and me alone.
Yeah.
And we've got to make year 3 a success, both from a registration point of view and from a financial point of view. And that's quite important, because or else we start to worry, is it actually going to work?
It starts to become a feasibility question, then, doesn't it?
It is, yeah.
Long-term.
The long-term concept of it is there, and we know it will work. But the things that people don't realise is that COVID caused us a lot of issues. We had a show that we knew our first show was going to lose money. That we never doubted that. But COVID put a massive amount of additional strain. And that's the thing. And I don't really want it to disappear. I don't think it will. But when you talk 4 weeks out, and we're kind of like, we have only got like 5 stands left in dyslexia and 2 stands left in dyscalculia. So actually, we're not far off sold out from our real estate point of view. We still have sponsorship opportunities that people can take at last minute. We still have some digital signage. There's still a lot we can do. And the conversations we've had today with people are really beneficial. So actually, we just keep going, and we just keep moving forward, and we keep going, okay, what's our next thing I need to do? What's the next thing we need to move forward? And we just keep going. And that's what I want to do. And that's, for me, where I am. And the idea is that it should do what it's doing. And that lady posting that thing is what that is changing people's lives. And for me, if we go back to that 9-year-old who was told by his parents you're dyslexic, and go, oh, that's amazing, and then go, oh no, I don't like this dyslexia because it's like going to the dentist, because that stress and anxiety is there.
Yeah.
And having that teacher in year 8 tell my parents that I'd never achieve anything, I'd never amount to anything because I couldn't read. Yeah. And you go, actually, you know what? I deliver for 2 years, and now delivering my 3rd Dyslexia Show, which is the UK's first and leading exhibition dedicated to dyslexia, where dyslexia affects 6.9 million people in the UK today. And we have to kind of go, you know what? We have to change it. And we can go a little bit political, and then you can edit it out if you want to.
Go for it.
but today I found something that really annoyed me, and it annoyed me when I first heard it. We had this concept of that schools now have to ban mobile phones. And to me, it's like, why? Don't understand it. And I saw a really good post on LinkedIn today about it. About someone said, actually, we've got digital natives, right? Now in our people in our schools are digital natives. They live with digital, and actually, we should just be able to create controls and scaffolding for these individuals. And that's what this post said. And for me, it's like, well, don't forget the accessibility need. I can't live without my mobile phone, not because I want to watch social media or watch TikTok and try and become a TikTok star, because I do.
I've seen you post.
But I actually want to have, I want to have people use it correctly and use it for when they need it. Because for me, my mobile phone will read text out to me. It will read my emails to me. It will allow me to dictate and put notes into it.
And it's an interesting thing, isn't it? The point with mobile phone education, because you think it's us. I don't know, functional adults is the correct thing.
but yeah.
But you think the amount of kind of pull that device has, and actually we have to learn somehow to live in a world where everything's connected digitally via our mobile phones at this current point in time. And, the digital native children, they use it as an accessibility tool. And I would. Yeah. I do all the time, same way you do. So there's a reason why the first hack ever on the website uses a mobile phone. But surely we're better off, rather than having a blanket ban, can't we educate younger people how to get the balance right? Because we don't get it right as 30-somethings.
No. Well, to be honest, I'm nearly 40. I'm 40 in 2 weeks' time as I record this podcast.
Yeah, I'm 4 months' time.
Yeah. I'm quite lucky. That's going to be an interesting time of life. But anyway, digress. But no, I think you're right there. And this is the thing for me, is that actually it's so apparent now that what Lorraine Peterson, OBE, said, we have a 19th century education system to a 21st century intake of students. All right. But we have some amazing teachers that come to Dyslexia Show, amazing teachers that are working in our schools, that are fighting every day to support kids with a massively diverse intake of students across our country. Students that have had mental health issues because of COVID, students that have come from war-torn countries. We've got students that are in the best way to describe it, broken homes. Students that we have people that are all in so many different types and walks of life that teachers have to deal with every single day. Now, and we go back to when we were at school. That was the word. We know the word dyslexia wasn't used when I was at school until I was in year 10. Sorry, but actually talking about mental health and talking about social, emotional, mental health and talking about behaviour was completely irrelevant. And this is the thing that we still have today, and this is why Dyslexia Show is so important.
Yeah.
When we have counsellors in local authorities that think it's a parent issue because of ADHD, right? And we think that counsellors think that it's something in the water of why they're having to spend money on children. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and this happened in the last 2 months in 2024. And we just have to think, we have to go, you know what? No, this is not right. And this is where, for me, having these positive messages and having these people go, actually, this is really amazing. Or what can we do to support little Johnny? My child is 10 years old. Can I bring her along? These are the questions I get every single day. And that is the thing. Yes, of course we do. I think we're going to have over 200 children on Saturday coming. I can't wait, right? Because they're not my responsibility. The parents, it's your responsibility. But you know what, right? We can change some people's lives. We can change their lives in doing it. And actually, I'll talk about one thing. So we talked about Dyscalculia Show.
Yes, we did.
I'm really looking forward to this. So on the Friday afternoon, the last session on Friday afternoon is Bridget and Will talking. Okay. Now, Bridget is a mom. Will is an 11-year-old boy, and him and his mom have worked together to create books for about dyscalculia.
Oh, nice.
And they're called All About Gary. And it's amazing what they've both done. Neither of them are involved in business. They've created this as their own. They're coming to exhibit at the show. And that just shows that actually that for me, they met me last year and I was really happy to see their product. I thought it was brilliant. I said that all they did last year was they did an advert for their business, and they were so appreciative of that. And we've got them to come to the show. And actually now they're going to exhibit and they're going to actually have a talk as well. It's kind of amazing to see. And that's what it's all about. It's all about bringing people together to be part of that community, support the community from me giving them information, support the organisation, the Dyslexia Show, from any way possible, from being by registering and attending, buying a seminar, becoming a friend of the Dyslexia Show, and actually kind of just getting involved is kind of really important. So, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And it's something I noticed being at last year's show, that sense of community. Like, it's really interesting. People that I'd seen while thumbing through my mobile phone on various social media platforms, and we're sat there having dinner together and both know each other. Like, hey, who are you? And then you get talking to other people, and it really surprised you how sort of tight knit everything is in terms of what.
It's there's a word you can use which is not the right word, but it's the right word to explain. It's very incestuous, but actually that's a benefit to the community, because actually, if you don't know something, you should know someone who does know it.
Yes, yeah,
and that's actually how I look at it. And that's what I thrive myself on knowing. I like to, and it's not me being nosy, but I do like to know people, the companies we have, what their business is and what they do.
Yes,
because for me, if I know that let's take SEM Books sells books, right? That's their main thing, right? Actually, they need this amount of space, so I need to think about, when I design my floor plan, that's how much space they need, and I need to make it so they can have that space, so they can sell their books. But then I know, like Claire, who did this, they did the post. Her company is very new, very small. She needs an entry level stand. And because that's what she needs. She doesn't need to have a big stand. She doesn't need to have the concept compared to it. And you just know companies, and that's how you've got to deliver an event. And that's quite important. It is. And it's quite a skill. And that's what brings it all together.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it's a lot of planning goes in. And as you say, you don't want somebody who's got enough content for a small stand on a large stand and it's lost. Or the vice versa, where the SEN books would be spilling out of a large stand. Well, it would just wouldn't even get in there, would they? It'd just be no, spilling all over the pink carpet.
That's right.
One thing we spoke about last year when we were talking about it is classroom. Something you couldn't get in for Dyslexia Show 1, but you managed to get in last year. Now, how did that go in the end? Did it go as well as you expected, and did the concept come to fruition?
So no and yes.
Yeah.
So for me, the concept of the classroom was good in the sense that it was a really good theatre. We had some really good engaging talks. But because of, and this is the thing, when you look at an event like the Dyslexia Show, we rely on the community to keep the show going in that sense, both from a delegate point of view and from an exhibitor point of view. So actually, the resource is not always there. So how you envision something and then how it is not the same.
Yes. Okay.
So yes, it worked really well, and we had an amazing talk. So we had last year we had Microsoft as a sponsor and supporter, as we have done for the first 2 shows. They're not coming to this year's show, but that's fair enough. That's how business works, and you have to kind of take that. But we'll say that no, they are coming. Michael Vanesh, who is their accessibility lead for go-to-market, he's coming to speak in workplaces. He's done for the last 2 years. So he is coming back. He's been asked to come back for a 3rd year on the trot because his speech and his talk is different, of course. Now, but we were very lucky to have Hector Mento, who's the EMEA lead for accessibility. And EMEA is Europe and East Asia. His talk overflowed. Literally was like probably the biggest thing we had. Literally, everyone sat on a chair, everyone sat at a table, but then literally overflowed out. And kind of like, it was amazing to see. So that was kind of interesting to see and go, actually, you know what? This is what it should be, but it didn't really work. So what we did this year is we created something called the Knowledge Theatre. So the idea is that we have the workshop theatre, we have the knowledge theatre, and we have the neurobox theatre.
Oh,
which last year was the Innovation Theatre. It's now called the Neurobox Theatre.
I'm well aware of that one.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. So this is a different concept. So, and they're very different as well. So this year, all of them theatres have got a mixture. So across the whole of the portfolio of actually, and including the keynote as well. So all of them have got a mixture of company talks, so companies that are other companies, so like companies like some of our schools that are coming, some of our assistive technology companies, they've all got talks that are beneficial. We also have then our some dedicated speakers in them. So where last year a number of the talks, say in the Neurobox Theatre, were all talks.
Yes.
Where this year they have a number of companies and a number of talks. So they're not always the same. And that's across the four, what we call feature theatres. And that was a logical choice as well to kind of keep, again, this sustainability going of the actual event, but also then to kind of be a bit more kind of thinking about the space we have. So the work classroom was a very big space, so we've kind of made that the same, made it a bit smaller. We've also moved them around a bit, so they're not in the floor, in the center of the floor. They're actually on the edges of the floor to try and help with the sound distribution.
Yes,
and that's always going to be the issue. You're always going to have it because we only have a tiny amount of space, and you are in a room that is very tall. And you kind of have to take that into consideration. And that's the thing. The more people we have, the better it works because it means that the noise will dampen down. So the more people that walk around is brilliant. So actually, for me, it's kind of interesting. So we did the classroom. It worked how I wanted it to work, but probably wasn't what I wanted it to be. And really, what I would love it to be is I would love it to be a classroom with a set of classroom chairs in the center of it, having a theatre style tiered seating around the outside of it, and having basically schools deliver lessons in there every day, every hour.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would love it to be in the future. It's not going to be that this year. This year we've just got the knowledge theatre. When you look at that kind of concept, like the knowledge theatre, we have like Alison from Wiltshire Local Authority. Now she's doing a talk about dyslexia-friendly schools in Wiltshire and how they've developed that dyslexia-friendly school program.
Yeah.
We've put so we've got SEN Legal. Rather than putting them in a paid-for talk, which we have done for the last 2 years, we've put them in a theatre which is free and open to anyone, which basically means that there's more access to their services and their understanding. Touch, Type, Read and Spell sending a speaker, and they're sending someone to talk. So Liz Day is talking about the education concepts of dyslexia, and then also the parent concepts of dyslexia. But then you've got things like we've got people like we've got Glean speaking, Douglas Stewart, Unicorn School. Bruin Abbey is a new school, but then we've also got Orcam, CareScribe, Matchware.
Is that all in the knowledge theatre?
These are across the three feature theatres. So this is across Workshop, Knowledge, and Neurobox.
Neurobox, yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So it's kind of interesting to see, and there's like things like in the knowledge theatre we've also done something a little bit different. So people might not be aware that there is some changes with the disability student allowance of how things are being processed now. They came into effect in February. So what we've done is Chris Collier, who's quite a bit of an expert in this field, has come on board to help with that kind of diverse concept, and we've pulled that into education. So that's kind of a new stream. So it's kind of pulling everything together, but also having a bit of a balance. I can't go a day, or I can't go 2 days without having a person asked to speak at Dyslexia Show.
Yes.
And it's really hard. So when we look at our keynote, it's that kind of concept of how do you pick who goes in the keynote, and how do you put people in there to help people, and that's quite hard. It is really hard because of the way that things are set up, and it's like we have. we've got an amazing speaker that was in our workplace last year. So our Martin and Rachel did an amazing session in workplace. Now they can't be at the Dyslexia Show on the Friday because they are somewhere else. So they're going to do a keynote on the Saturday in the first session, because I think that's really important, and that's kind of just gives it it gives them kind of a bit more of the benefit to the audience. But it's not easy when you curating creating the concept of our CPD timetable, our featured timetable, and then our keynote. It's not easy at all, but we did it. We've done very well with it. I'm very happy with it, and we've done something even better this year with it. And that is that we have made the decision to be as sustainable as possible. So both from a looking at your carbon footprint concept. So we've got no show program this year.
Oh yes, yeah.
So we made the decision to remove the show program. It helps us with sustainability. It helps us with sustainability both in growth of the company and the organization, but also with the concept of like sustainability in other areas. And we will have launched before the show a digital app which will be available on your app store. Hey. So that's moving slowly forward. It is. I've been testing it for now. I've been testing now for a week and a half, and I've been doing little tweaks on it myself. So I'm quite looking forward to it. And that's a really positive tool. It's a really positive concept for us.
Yeah.
To kind of find out more about what we're doing and find out what's going on. So we're kind of getting there with things and kind of moving things forward. And that's all you have to do in this game, all the things you have to do. And like going back to the Knowledge Theatre, the Knowledge Theatre is being supported by TTS,
yes.
TTS Special Direct. So that's really useful. It's just, the community is really coming out. We're moving in the right direction. We always will need more support. We always need more people to get involved in that sense, because you've got to can ensure that the Dyslexia Show continues. And that's what we wanted to do. I don't want to have to. I don't think I'll ever will. But you have to kind of look at the kind of everything as it comes in and as it grows.
Yes. Yeah. And grow it does. I mean, the fact, but I hosted the theatre last year, Innovation Theatre last year, and it was the only theatre. And that was, the fact you've got 3 now shows how much you expanded the show. So, yeah. Anything else new for 2024 before we kind of bring this podcast to a close?
There's lots of new exhibitors.
Yes, yeah.
So there's a lot of new exhibitors. So to mind, Iowa, CareScribe, Glean, Level School, and Level School Therapy, Bruin Abbey, the Dyscalculia Network, the Dyscalculia Zone. Yeah. There's lots of people in there that are new. There's actually probably too many to name, but they come to mind. And the concept is that actually a number of these people, and people like Matchware that came last year. Matchware came, they came and they're bigger this year. They've got a very big stand. It's really beneficial what they've got. And that's the thing. We just keep growing. And that's the thing. So I think that's it. And that's the whole point. I always said when I created it that I wanted to have an informed choice. And people could question, why is there 5 or 6 independent schools there? And I'm going, well, it's an informed choice. So there's definitely 2 boarding schools there. There is 3 or 4 day schools there. There's one or 2 part boarding. And it's not an easy decision to put your child into special ed or to move to an independent sector school.
Yeah, yeah.
But actually, you sometimes need to have that conversation. You need to know where you are. Because if you don't know what's there, you don't know what you can do. And that's the whole point of it. And that's why we've done it. And that's why, for me, it's like, you know what? That's perfectly fine. It's a good balance of assistive technology, resource, services, and schools at an event that delivers what it's designed to do, and that's be the UK's leading exhibition dedicated to dyslexia, dyscalculia, and neurodiversity.
Yes, yes, and it definitely is. So I'd encourage anybody to, if they haven't already jumped on Dyslexia Show website or booked a ticket, feel free to jump on. As you've heard from Arran, there's lots there, and I'll be floating around in probably a bright blue polo shirt. Can't miss me. I'm very tall as well, so feel free to come and say hello. And I think that's
I think we should just talk about that for 30 seconds before we end the podcast, because that would say right. So basically, we met before Dyslexia Show 1.
Yep.
Right. We had a conversation. Then we did the podcast. Yeah. And of course, you're sitting down. Right. And and someone else came with you that was quite short compared to you. And I was quite shocked, wasn't I? It was quite. I went, "Hey, Matt." So yes, you are quite tall, and yes, and you do wear a bright blue polo, which is fine. And I think that's the thing, is that actually we came out of the first show from a pandemic, and now look at it. We are now going to year 3, more exhibitors, more delegates, right? More activities, and you know what? If you haven't registered, dyslexia.show, dyscalculia.show, you can register for free. If you're an education parent or individual, workplace is £149. It's a Friday event. There's 6 dedicated sessions you'll be loaded onto. If you're wanting to buy your seminar tickets, buy them online. You've got 2 options. If you're education parents or individual, you can buy them as an individual ticket at £20 if you're educational individual, £10 if you're a parent, or you can buy them as a day ticket, where you get 5 sessions. So they're different prices for each of them. But remember, all the prices go up on the date. So the logical thing is buy them online before, because that means we can process you a lot quicker and you get guaranteed your seat. Any session for Workplace, Neurobox, Knowledge Theatre, or Keynote are all free sessions. You can go and sit down. You don't have to register, you don't have to book. You can add them to your timetable if you want to. I'm going to say, there's one other thing I just remembered, right? If you are a parent and you want to get that 20 minutes worth of just a little bit of legal advice, that conversation with a legal expert, Zen Legal will be delivering again the legal surgery. It will be £10. It will be, all the money goes to charity. It's just so we reserve the slot for you. So check out the website. That will go live. It will be live by the time this podcast's out there. So check on the website. There'll only be about 15, probably about 10 slots across the 2 days. Maybe 11 slots across 2 days, give or take. So there's not many slots.
Yes. And just in case we haven't said, it's in the NEC in Birmingham. So that's where you need to be.
Yeah. So, on the 15th and 16th of March at the NEC in Birmingham, Hall 8.
Yes. So that leads me to obviously thank you for taking the time again to come talk to me for the 3rd time in as many years. And I look forward to seeing you at the show, Arran.
I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Good. And I want to thank everybody else for taking the time to listen. And I'll speak to you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.